This is not my story. This is the story of that monument. Oh, you can't see it yet. It's still covered. It'll stay covered until the rabbi says Kaddish, and then we'll be ready for the big reveal. I have been thinking about this monument since 1942, when I first heard the dreadful rumors of what was happening in the Nazi-occupied territories. I was living in Russia at the time, working as a state sculptor for the Soviet government, creating busts of Russian generals and partisans and workers, all the heroes of Stalin's great patriotic war against Hitler. But when I heard about the systematic slaughter of the Jewish people that was happening at the hands of the Nazis, I knew I would build some sort of commemoration to this. How do you create a commemoration adequate to such a tragedy? My first attempts were lacking. You cannot imagine how difficult it is to create a monument with such an emotional impact. I went to Moscow to see if I could find the truth about what was happening. And while I was in Moscow, I heard about this epic uprising that was happening in Warsaw. I was inspired. This I knew I could work with. Just as I was finishing the first models, we heard that the ghetto had been destroyed. General Stroop had gone block by block, burning down the buildings until he came to the beautiful, great synagogue of Warsaw and blew it up. At that moment, I realized that my monument needed something else. It needed a wall. It needed a wall so that we might remember that the ghetto was there, so that what happened there might not be erased. And if I did it right, this wall could evoke another wall, could evoke the last standing wall of the great temple in Jerusalem and bring some holiness to the site. But a wall has another advantage. A wall has two sides. And that gave me an opportunity. Using this wall, I could commemorate both the heroes and the martyrs. On the one side, I could make a monument dedicated to the fighters, to those who stood up, to those who did what they could. And on the other, a monument dedicated to those who could not. The mothers and the fathers, the children and the grandparents, the rabbis, the ones whose only option was a forced march to death. With this wall, I could commemorate both of them at the same time. I returned to Warsaw in 1946, and I presented my idea to the Jewish committee there. But it took almost a year to raise enough funds to actually build the monument. And I spent a lot of time that year thinking about what the monument should actually look like. See, the prevailing aesthetic among sculptors in our modern era is abstract. I could build a rock with a hole in it and say, voila, a monument to the heroes of the Jewish people. But that is not what this moment, what this place needs. In this place, in this moment, we need to see the people. We need to remember the people. I presented the final plan to the Warsaw Arts Committee in early 1947. They deliberated for days. I pled with them, the blood that has been spilt here cannot wait to be remembered even one more day. They agreed, but with a condition. It had to be ready for the 5th anniversary. Politically speaking, they said, after that, we will not be able to build this monument. The 5th anniversary, April 1948, less than a year away. We had to move fast. There was no studio space in Warsaw big enough to work on a work of the magnitude that I was visualizing. So I went to Paris. Warsaw to build the base. The place where we had agreed to put it, the central square of the ghetto in front of the Judenrat building, the old Judenrat building, was rubble, was filled with rubble. All of Warsaw was filled with rubble. Too much rubble to move. He decided that instead of trying to move the rubble, he would incorporate it. He built the base of our monument on the rubble of the Warsaw Ghetto itself. The next thing we needed was granite on which to support the monument. Someone suggested we go to this particular stone yard in Sweden. When we got there, we found these 2 beautiful slabs of Labradorite granite already cut out and ready to go. They had been commissioned for a monument celebrating Hitler's victory. What better use of Nazi-commissioned granite than to support a monument to the very people they tried to destroy? Finally, it was time to move everything from Paris and Sweden to Warsaw. I was nervous, though. I was afraid if we moved it over land that it would get stopped at the border and the Soviets would confiscate it. So I sent it by the water. It took a long time, though. The last pieces didn't arrive until late March. But here we are in April, mid-April 1948, the 5th anniversary of the uprising, and it's ready. Here I stand surrounded by dignitaries from all over the world. Antik Zuckerman is here, and Abba Kovner, and many of their comrades who survived the uprisings and the resistance in Warsaw and elsewhere. Zuckerman will speak. He'll tell us what the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was really like. He'll tell us what the uprising was really about. And I hope he will look at this monument and find it adequate to remember both the heroes and the martyrs, to remember what they did and what they lost.